Well, hey, Dwight, another great weekend, a great message talking
Thanks.
about a subject really that if you were raised in the church or maybe even just in today's culture is has been taboo in the
Right.
past. I mean, talking about mental and emotional health.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that has happened in the church is we pretend. And so we come and we serve a perfect God, and we think that we have to project that to other people, which we serve a God who's full of grace and kindness and goodness. So I get to be me. And I get to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm struggling here, or I have this issue, or I have this addiction. And that's really what's attractive about who Jesus is. And yet we have a hard time doing that because we want to project that we're perfect. And if we project that we're perfect, then what happens is we become religious because now we're performing and it becomes so heavy. We say, hey, I've tried that. I don't want that. But what I would say is you're not experiencing the real Jesus because he's loving, he's kind, he's full of goodness, and we get to be able to deal with real life issues and real life topics.
Yeah, that's so true. And there are people in our day and age, especially with all the information and all the things taking place, who struggle emotionally or mentally,
Yeah.
and they're probably intimidated or afraid to say it because they appear weak, or maybe they
Right.
appear like, well, maybe I don't know Jesus. When in
Right.
reality, what you're saying is, no, that's exactly why Jesus is
Yeah.
here.
Well, I tell people if you knew my battles, my fears, my issues, you'd want to lock me up because I have them. I've got them. And the question is, how do I deal with them? They're there, okay? And it's like we talked about. They're there. We all have issues. The question is, what course of action am I going to take to deal with those things?
That's good.
And that's what we talked about, of course, in this message.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really necessary. So you gave us 10 points, mental, emotional health 101, you call it.
Right.
And you started with this: manage your expectations, then reframe your mindset, develop a routine, limit information intake. How
Right.
important is that?
Right.
Connect with godly people daily. And 6, confess your feelings. 7, seek wise counsel. I love the point that you made about just decision fatigue. If you
Right.
don't have people speaking into your
Yeah.
life, I mean, forget about
Right.
it. 8, practice solitude daily. Be generous to others and focus on what you can control.
Right.
Now, what we've been asking our church is,
Right.
hey, what questions do you have for Dwight regarding this message? So we have a question from
Sure.
Tammy from Maslin, and she says this: what role does God play in helping with depression and anxiety?
Well, one of the roles that God has played is he's given us a free choice. And so we're not robots. And the other role that he plays is he's promised never to forsake us or leave us. And he's promised to meet us at our point of need. And so it's really a relationship. And so just like, a young child goes to their parents when they're fearful or they're discouraged or they're battling something, and they receive what? Comfort.
Yeah.
They receive instruction. They receive help. That's our relationship with God. And so God plays a role, but he's also given you and I the responsibility and the freedom to make choices. And so I get to choose what I'm going to focus on. Am I going to focus on God? Or am I going to focus on other things? Am I going to focus on what I can control? Or am I going to focus on other things? And so God plays a huge role, but we also do because it's that relationship. He's not made us robots.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about the mindset cycle. So what you focus on, you tell yourself, which develops the feelings you have, which develop the actions you do.
So Paul would say this. Paul would say, here's our responsibility. Paul would say, take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ or to God. So our responsibility is to take those thoughts captive and then take it to God and say, is this true? Is this true? Because you shall know the truth, and the truth will what?
Set you free.
Set you free. So that's God's responsibility. God's responsibility is, Dwight, I'm never going to lie to you. I'm always going to be there for you. I'm going to always tell you the truth. Your responsibility is to take that which wants to disrupt you or disturb you or deceive you and bring it to me and then we'll have a conversation. And that is through reading the Word, the Scriptures.
I like that. I like that a lot. Bring it to God and ask, hey, is this true?
Absolutely.
It's
Right.
good stuff. Okay, so we have Jared from Dover. He asked this question. Is it a sin to go to counseling when you feel like you can't handle all of this on your own? When do I make that decision?
No. I mean, I've been to counselors, professional counselors, because I think that there's times in our lives that we need somebody to help us navigate through a situation, a relationship, all of that. But really, I think God's ultimate plan is He's given that to us, and it's called community. We're to counsel one another. I'm to help you develop a God perspective when you're going through a fog and you can't see things and you're getting depressed and you're getting full of anxiety, and I come around you and I listen to you, which is a real important thing in counseling, okay? That I love you, which is really important, okay? And that I pray for you, and that I'm going to hold you accountable to what we talked about. And so, counseling, God's way would be community. Okay. Now there are times of where things have happened to us that we need somebody who, quote unquote, is an expert. Okay. And you should never be ashamed of that. But I think if we would live in community, and we say that doing life is dangerous, okay, alone, if we would live in community, then I would be able, and you would be able, to keep those challenges and issues at bay. Now, here's what I say. Okay. I have to work at being emotionally healthy. And so I'm in community. I like to tell people this, and this is the truth. I don't have any secrets. And I talked about confessing your feelings. I've got some people who I confess my feelings, even my sins. And I say, you know what? I'm struggling in this area of my life right now. Or I didn't handle this very well. Or I'm afraid of this. And so what happens is, when you reveal your feelings, it's the start of healing.
Yeah.
And so it's okay. I think what happens is, because we don't have deep relationships with people, we pay somebody to keep their mouth shut. Because really what we want is somebody to listen to us, somebody to love us, somebody to pray for us and be there. And so when do I make that decision? I make that decision, whether it's with a friend or whether it's with a quote unquote professional counselor, when I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed and I feel like, hey, you know what? I don't want to get stuck with this. So don't feel ashamed at all. I would rather have a little bit of embarrassment and be healthy than to pretend and my world begin to fall apart.
Yeah. Don't wait till it's too late. Just make sure that you're doing the right things first.
Absolutely.
Be in community,
Right.
have the right people surrounding you,
Right.
and have your focus on the right things, on God. But if we ever find ourselves in life, we typically will find ourselves, especially this season, right?
Yeah.
In a place where we're overwhelmed. It's not a bad thing going and getting the help needed.
It's not a bad thing.
No,
not a bad thing at all.
That's good. But it's not a substitute always.
No.
The things that we are doing consistently in our lives.
Here's
like
what
you
I'd
said.
say. Go to all the counselors in the world. They can't remove your guilt. Only Jesus can. They're not going to be your best friend. Only the people that you live in community with. And so I have no problem with somebody going to counseling. I've been there, okay?
Yeah.
That's not a substitute for doing life alone, though.
Yeah.
Okay? I still have to live in community. I still have to confess my feelings and my faults to other people, because if I don't, no amount of counseling will get me to a place of health if I'm not living in community.
So I think a lot of people now are living in a time that they're really questioning how to do church, how to do community, all those things. New Point, we're offering two things. We're
Right.
offering New Point at Home, which is a way to gather
Right.
together to participate in our weekend experience.
Right.
And that's available any day. We're just asking people to open up their homes like you
Right.
talked about last week with hospitality. We're also offering New Point groups.
Right.
And these are small groups that people can be a part of by visiting newpoint.org/groups.
And doing life with other people.
That's
We
it.
all need that. We're created for relationships.
Yeah.
So that's why a counselor can't take the place of me living in relationship with other people. They can help me, okay, but they can't take place of genuine real authentic community and relationship with other people.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to be in groups.
No, I think it's extremely important for people to do that. It's probably the hardest thing if you're not in that.
Oh, absolutely.
You're
Without
not
a doubt.
feeling like, oh man, I want to get, that can be really difficult to take that, especially because I think people have a lot of tasks.
Absolutely.
I got to do this, I got to do that, but this is the most important thing, and we want to wave the magic wand and pretend like anxiety can go away. But sometimes it's investing in the relationship.
Absolutely.
So I invite you to do that. If you're not in a New Point group, make sure you go to newpoint.org/groups. Sign up today. It's the ability to share life, do life together, and share interests as well. So we want you to be able to do that. But we also have a new tool as well. So if you're watching this and you are alone and you need somebody to talk to or you have questions, New Point's offering a tool this week. We call it our Intercom. And so if you go to the newpoint.org website, all right, you'll see this little guy in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, click on that, and we've got people available who will chat with you and who will contact you, will pray with you. We want to let you know we understand life is complicated, but we can help, and we want to help. Dwight, thanks again.
You're
Great
welcome.
weekend.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
Great.